Hey, we get to talk today about Jesus, the story in the Gospel of Mark of his life. And of course, the reason why we're doing it is because we want to get things in our life right, the right beliefs and the right actions, the right things, the right foundation for our life. I think this can really matter. Jesus is a human who came to help us understand what it means to be human and what it means to get things right in our lives. So Mark's Gospel, chapter 9, there's a story called the Transfiguration, a famous story of when Jesus reveals his true self to the disciples. 3 of them are up on the mountain, and then this thing happens where it says Elijah and Moses appeared and began talking with Jesus. This is in Mark's Gospel, chapter 9, verse 4. And the cool thing about this is that, Moses has been dead for over 1,000 years. So there's that's weird. You don't always see dead people showing up on tops of mountains to talk to you. But the other thing is Elijah has been also missing. Now, Elijah didn't die. If you read your scriptures, you'll know that Elijah kind of disappeared in a fiery chariot. And I don't know where he went. I kind of call him the Doctor Who of the Old Testament, maybe to some other galaxies. But definitely he came back for Jesus for this conversation. And if Moses represents the past, Elijah really represents the future, because Elijah, the spirit of Elijah, was going to come before the Messiah came. And we know, if you're reading your scriptures, you'll know that John the Baptist was the character that kind of represented the spirit of Elijah. And one of the things I think that happens when we think about the future is we always have this, what I would call a utopian version of the future. We have this perfect plan in our minds of what things will look like when they come. The disciples were like this, just like us. They had this perfect idea. Bonhoeffer, he was a theologian that lived in Germany, and he opposed the Nazis. He resisted them, and he was eventually hung for that. But he used to do these underground communities of priests, where he would do the confessing church, the real church, in defiance against the Nazified church. And he said that the greatest enemy of his communities, the greatest enemy of any Christian community, he said, is the idea of a perfect Christian community. Or someone once told me, if you find a perfect church, by all means, don't join it. You'll ruin it immediately. Sometimes the greatest enemy in moving forward in our lives and getting things right in our lives is this picture of a perfect future. We all have these conversations with ourselves. If only I was married to somebody different. If only I was more educated. Or maybe when I get this in my life, or when I'm out of debt, or when I'm free from anxiety, or when and on this goes. We fill it with 100 different things because we have the idea of what a perfect future looks like. We do not need to let the idea of a perfect future stop us from living in this present world, in this present time. And this is what happens on the Mount of Transfiguration, is the disciples are confronted with their past, with Moses, with systems and structures they're familiar with. And they're confronted with this perfect future that's supposed to come. This utopian idea of when everything's right, then I will get to the things that I'm called to do. And the invitation to get things right in our lives in the present tense is to let go of the past and to let go of the future and to follow Jesus right now.